Hi, another day, another review. Please enjoy my first ride out of the FZ09. And then yet again, we will meet back here afterwards so that I can debrief you. Off come the briefs. Oh wait, you've got time. Right, well there's another sunny day in March. I'm being spoilt. It's quite a tall frame on it, isn't it? No, done a little research on this one. I now know what the modes do, which is very important. And this one makes it fun. Right, let's go get lost in London. That switch gear's a bit busy, isn't it? As is this road. Thanks. Interesting. Right, wind off. Holy shit. Yeah, A for aggression. Wah! I really don't know where I'm going. 406. I know that much. Although, holy mother of God! I needn't have worried whether or not it was as fast as the Kawasaki. So, we are going on possibly the most boring road in London, maybe the world. The 406, otherwise known as the North Circular, otherwise known as Hell on Earth, the Grey Desert. Ooh! Well, even with an aggressive throttle mapping, it doesn't handle that badly over speed bumps or imperfections. Oh, well, there's 40. It's as simple as that. Is it a closed throttle and then you can change the rider mode? Is that right? I just want to keep it in A mode, I'll be honest. I could try out the others and I'll give it a go, but start with the most exhilarating, progress to the more boring, and then move back to the more exhilarating. Did I lie? Even on a sunny day, this road can destroy your spirit. My spirit animal, the piker, is just upset right now. It's calling out. And you might question why I've chosen the piker. It's because they're cute. Oh, hello. Oh, it's busy. How do you do it? Oh dear. Oh. God, no. It's a bit soft for drafting. When things are too soft, it's quite hard to get through cars. Here we are, folks. Riveting footage of a busy roundabout in London. Golders Green, North Circular, M1. Uh-oh. I think I've chosen the wrong fucking lane, haven't I? Oh well. Question: does she feel as fast as the Kawasaki? Answer: resoundingly yes. Very usable torque. Very, very fast. Woohoo! Right, and there's an instant punch which is similar to Kawasaki, and it's always there at your fingertips, but the gears aren't quite as aggressive. I like the fact that light's always on telling me the traction control's off. The traction control's off. I know. I'm aware. I turned it off. I wanted it off. It is now off. Okay, now I do know the rider modes on this one now. B mode is the less aggressive, the least aggressive. It is more for town. Adds subtlety to the throttle. And it reduces the horsepower to 95 brake. And then with standard mode, of course, you are back up to your full 115 brake horsepower, or at least metric says 113 brake horsepower mechanical, and even that's probably a lie when you get on a dyno. Something else I want to point out whilst I've got all the time in the world is that it's taller than the old bike by 5mm, but it's also a lot taller than the Kawasaki I tried the other day and most other bikes I tend to ride. It's 820mm tall for seat height. Oh god, this is dull. Oh, it's dull. Although, as you can see with the blue skyline and the fact that there's country on either side, that's my argument for the North Circular being the most dull road you can do, because it's just house, run-down business estate, North Circular, grey. Even with a blue skyline you don't see much of it, unlike here where you can see a field. A farmer owns that. They till it. Well, they have cows, I don't know what the fuck they do. There we go, the 41. What the fuck for that? Let's take that one then. Well, before we do, A mode. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Why am I still using the clutch? It's taken me 15 minutes to remember that this thing has a Quickshifter, which I want to test out. Here we go. Right, slip the clutch down, Quickshifter up. Oh! Sorry, I've never made that noise before. So it gives it a little jolt actually when it changes gear. Smooth down changing is what we require. Oh, I know where I am, roughly, I think. Oh god, that slipper clutch is fantastic. Do you know the annoying thing is that I'm treating this like... Sorry, I was just testing the brakes. Ah, there's the anti-lock on the back, okay. Which you can't turn off, which is probably a good thing. In fact, it definitely is a good thing, isn't it? So yeah, the slipper clutch works really well, as a lot of people have said, and it makes me feel like I'm much better at riding than I probably am. I think it's quite a compliment if I can say that this bike is distracting in the best possible way, in that I'm trying to think of things to say and actually I'm just taking it in and enjoying it. So again, we're in A mode. As you can tell by the snatchy throttle, it doesn't change much other than the throttle mapping and the horsepower. So again, if you put it in B mode, oh, it does, yeah, that is better. Okay, so if you're going over a pothole and you went which is that, it will take out the imperfections. It really smooths it out for you, which is good. That's nice. So if I was riding this thing as a commuter, which generally speaking I would be for about 70% of the year, no nod. See this? When did the nod go to pot? No one in London nods. 70% of the time I'm going to be using this as a commuter. I'm going to be using it in a town and the road's going to be dog shit. So, not literally, although possibly. Which means having a subtle throttle is a good thing for me. Then we come to standard mode, which actually you'd probably use that quite a lot. So standard mode, again, it's just throttle mapping. You've got your full 113 brake horsepower rather than reduced 95 that you get from B mode, but it's not quite as aggressive as A mode. Do I think I would miss not having these rider modes? Yeah, I think if I'd lived with this for a while, I think I probably would if I got onto another bike and I was using it again in a town, not necessarily out and about in the country. I'll tell you what does confuse me. All of this on the left. The instrument cluster. I keep going for the horn. L Street Studios? Well, I think so. That is called a box change, and it is frowned upon, but sometimes it is necessary. Bioproducts Lab. Yes. Bioproducts. What kind of bioproducts? We're talking yogurt, We're talking cosmetics. Is it tested on animals? I don't know why you'd feed a yogurt to an animal. Right, before we get to that, let's stick it in A mode. That looks like a corner. Corners I like. So, third gear, 3,500 revs. How does she pick up? Yeah, not bad. There is a sweet spot though, and that wasn't it for revs. No, I'm on a heath. Heath's always good places to pull over. Ah, beautiful place to pull over. There we are. Off she pops. Holy moly, me oh my. I need to check where I am and to find out how to get back to the shop. Oh, now it's a bit too cold. So how was that? You enjoy it? Great. Now let's talk a little bit more about the actual stats of the bike and where I placed it, what I think of it in comparison to other bikes. First impressions, it's very nice. Do I need to say more than that? Yeah, obviously I do. Improvements over the old are suspension. It is slightly taller. It has taken influence from the MT10's looks. They've also fitted it with a Quickshifter, improved the clutch, the frame, practically everything. So if we're talking suspension, it is now fully adjustable front and back. Personally, I found the suspension to be a little bit soft, but I have no doubts that given time, tweaking it a bit more, you could get it how you like it. So you can get an aftermarket exhaust system from Yamaha, in fact, and that is still Euro 4 compliant for emissions and for sound. I would recommend that. It's just over £1,000, I believe, if you get it from Yamaha fitted. It does improve power a little bit. I think they said between 4 and 5% improved. You wouldn't notice a huge amount. I'd imagine it just feels a bit better, and I can't say because I only rode it with the nice fancy exhaust because they had all the extras on. Brakes are good, very good. Plenty of feel, plenty of feedback. I did manage to get the ABS to intervene a bit on the rear brake. It's got a 4-piston caliper on the front, or say a caliper, 2 calipers obviously because you've got your dual discs. It's got 298mm discs. They feel great. As I say, it's got ABS as well as standard. And I believe they are monoblock for the MT09, or at least it was on the old bike, so I can only imagine it's the same on the new one. On the back, you have that 1-piston Nissan, and you have 245mm for the disc. I should mention the engine, after all, is quite an important part of any bike. It's the bit that makes it go. So you've got 113 brake horsepower. You have 115 brake horsepower if it's metric. I don't work in metric. You've also got 64 foot-pounds of torque, or pounds-foot of torque, and 87 newton meters. But again, we don't work in metric, do we? No, I don't. But it's good, it's nice and punchy. If you look at a dyno chart, you will see that of course it goes completely across for the torque, just a sheer wall almost. It's amazing. And the peak I think is around 8,000 revs. The other thing with the horsepower though is that it is great to hang on to the gears and get all the way up to just before 11,000 revs when it's making its peak horsepower. Should talk about the weight as well actually. Really light bike, 193 kilograms, wet. Completely wet, sodden. That's including the petrol and the oil and the brake reservoir and the water for the radiator, everything basically. A full bike weighs 193 kilograms. Part of the reason it is so light is that again they've taken some design influence from other manufacturers and given it an alley frame, but that is connected to the engine, and the engine is actually there as a stress member like you would find on the Ducati Monsters. One of my big problems with the bike though, and this is again only my taste I suppose, but the digital display doesn't really float my boat. Not a big fan of it. It's not colour, which is fine, you can accept that, but it's not very easy to read quickly. If you are riding along and you're looking for something, it can get a little confusing. and the screen is quite small actually. So you've got your rev counter on the top, up to 13,000 revs. That you cannot see. I couldn't see that at all. Didn't even take note of it once, just because it's that small and obtrusive. You can switch traction control and rider modes on the fly, which is very useful. Just make sure you clutch in and throttle off, and then you can switch through them. If you're on a very open road, that's absolutely fine. If you're on the motorway, it doesn't take more than a second, and you get very used to that. Talk about ride modes, but they are very good. And I think that if you ride it for a long time, you'll miss those if you go to another bike. They don't completely change the thing. I mean, they limit the power and stuff. I'm not sure how much I would use them after a long time. I'd probably just be fine sticking it in standard and just carry on as it is. But it's nice to know that if you are just doing a lot of town riding, that you can always stick it in B mode and just very easily cruise along. But whatever you choose, the bike will remember it, which is very good. It doesn't remember the traction control, however, which of course you can change from setting 1, setting 2, or just off. For the most part today, because it's sunny, I kept it off. But maybe if you are having it in A mode, you'd want to temper that with traction control on, because at least that means you won't get into too much bother, but you've got that aggression if you are trying to zip around quickly. But don't be too aggressive with it. Or do, whatever, your choice, it's your life, you live your life, I'll live mine. So part of the point in taking out the Yamaha today was to compare it to the Kawasaki, which I took out not 2 days ago, in glorious sunshine as well. And I'm not going to say you should buy one over the other, because I honestly couldn't. I couldn't split the two. It really comes down to what you're going to be using it for. Now honestly, if you're using it just as a sports bike, just to see what you can get out of it, purely for the performance of the machine, the Kawasaki is more powerful. The Kawasaki feels a little bit faster. The Kawasaki feels a bit firmer. If you want to feel in the bike, part of the machine, then you feel a little bit more in because of the seating position and the riding position on the Kawasaki. It has a better turning circle, actually. It feels a little bit more responsive, I think thanks to that suspension being stiffer. If you want a bike, however, that ticks practically every box, will do a little bit of touring as well, and is the most technologically advanced out of the two of them, then obviously you're going to have to side with the Yamaha. And you know what? If you don't like the looks of the FZ09, maybe you don't like these super aggressive Japanese styling at the moment, perhaps you'd like to have a look at the XSR 900, because essentially it's the same machine. In a nutshell, I think it's great value for money, and I think it is a fantastic blast. Really quick, lots of fun, very versatile, sits very well in the market, and I should imagine they're going to sell a lot of them. I really don't know. I don't know where I am. That's a body of water. Right, I'm going to get in the map. Shit, my gloves. I need you. Right, ignition. Hey. Oh God, that exhaust is nice.